What's up, everybody? You are now listening to the In Love with Horror podcast. We are your hosts. I'm AJ.
And I'm Kristie. Join us for a love affair with all things horror as we explore the world of horror films, games, and everything in between.
All right, y'all. So we got another great episode for y'all today. We're going to be discussing, of course, all the new trailers that dropped this week. We got some dope trailers, including a new Apple TV show featuring Lakeith Stanfield called The Changeling. We got a bunch of other cool trailers, too. And we're going to be covering the news that dropped this week. Some great news about Final Destination 6. The Exorcist Believer finally got its rating. And we're going to be talking about Mike Flanagan's final Netflix show. And then to top it all off, the main topic for this podcast is our spoiler review of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So make sure you stay tuned to the entire podcast as you're now listening to the In Love with Horror podcast. All right, y'all. Now, before we actually kick off the podcast, we, of course, got some very sad news this week for the entire film industry, but especially for the horror film industry, and that is in regards to Mr. William Freidkin. He unfortunately passed away. So I'm going to take a moment to remember Mr. Friedkin because he directed, one of our favorite horror films, in The Exorcist. He was 87 years old when he passed away this week. Now, most people know him for The Exorcist, but he directed, a number of different films, such as Rules of Engagement, The French Connection, which he actually won an Oscar for, 12 Angry Men, and then he even directed some episodes of Tales from the Crypt. So definitely check out the things beyond The Exorcist because he was, a legendary filmmaker even outside of the horror genre. Now, we just want to take a moment to, acknowledge Mr. Friedkin and what he has contributed to the horror genre and filmmaking as a whole, and then overall, just the legacy that he's going to be leaving behind. Take a moment to think on that and be grateful for, what he's given us horror fans and us cinema fans. All right, y'all. With that, we're going to go ahead and jump into what we watched this week. And so, as always, I'll start for you, Kristie. What you watched this week?
Yeah, so I took it back and I watched Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, which was came out in 1988. I've only watched the first Hellraiser completely. And then obviously the remake, which I liked. So I wanted to go back and start watching some of the other Hellraiser movies. So so I watched the second one, and that one was directed by Tony Randall and written by, obviously Clive Barker and Peter Atkins, who worked on this particular film, but not the first one. He worked on this one and then the rest of the Hellraiser films. So basically, if you haven't watched it, it's about, Kirsty from the first movie. She's now in a psych ward, and coincidentally, which I thought was really weird, the doctor at this psych ward is, he's trying to find the gates of hell. So he's using the story that she's telling, which she thinks, she's like, oh, that sounds crazy. But he, of course, acts like he doesn't act like he doesn't believe what she's saying, but he also doesn't tell her up front, like, oh, I absolutely believe this because I'm trying to find the gates myself.
Right.
So he kind of uses the information that she tells from the story to get what he wants. Right. So, but yeah, it was really good. A continuation of the first story. I've liked the different expansion of the universe. You got to watch it if you haven't already watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't, but I liked it. Not as much as the first film, obviously. I think that happens a lot, but I still thought it was good. And one of my favorite quotes from this one was obviously from Pinhead, because he's my favorite character. He says, "Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell." I was like, dang, that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is this gonna be the most legendary suffering possible. But yeah, That was good. That was good. There was some kind of confusion. I had some confusion. You came in at the end. I was like, I don't
Right.
really understand some of this, but other than that, it was good, and I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I don't really remember that movie. That movie super good. I remember like bits and pieces. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, I just remember it being all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what
What
I
you
watched
watch?
this week,
Yeah.
because we were just on another person's podcast, and we were talking about Tales from the Hood, and it's been a long time since I watched it, and there's a lot of things I just could not remember from that movie. So I watched Tales from the Hood this week, and of course that the original Tales from the Hood came out in 1995, directed by Rusty Condiv, and written by him as well, and Darren Scott. The synopsis is that there are three young gang members out to pick up a drug shipment at a funeral parlor from the strange funeral director, Mr. Sims. As they wind their way through the parlor, Mr. Sims tells them the last stories of some of his more interesting clients. And of course, it's like an anthology type of film with different stories, a lot of social commentary.
Yeah.
Just a great horror film from the 90s.
Hmm.
But it was cool to get that refresher
Right.
on the movie because it'd been a while and there's a lot of things I just couldn't remember.
We took it back this week.
Yep, definitely took it back this week for sure. But yeah, make sure y'all check out Tale from the Hood if you haven't seen it before. I won't spoil anything because there are some twists and turns within the larger story and the anthology story. So I won't
Yeah.
mention anything further than that. But if you've never seen it, definitely check it out. With that, y'all, we'll go ahead and jump into the new trailers that dropped this week, starting off with a new Apple TV series called The Changeling. Now, this trailer I thought looked super dope. Now, just some additional information on The Changeling. The first three episodes of The Changeling will be available to watch on September 8th, and then the remaining episodes will release on a weekly basis through October 13th. It's actually based on a book of the same name by Victor Lavelle, and it is not a remake of the 1980 film.
Hmm.
The Changeling is a fairy tale for grown-ups, a horror story, a parenthood fable, and a perilous odyssey through a New York City you didn't know existed. The series is being written and adapted by Kelly Marcel, who worked on Venom,
Hmm.
50 Shades of Grey, Venom 2, and Saving Mr. Banks. It is starring and executive produced by Lakeith Stanfield, and it also features also starring in the show Clark Bacco, Adina Porter, Samuel T. Herring, Alexis Louder, Jared Abrahamson, and Malcolm Barrett. And I thought this trailer looked really good. I liked this. I liked a lot of the visuals. The
Yeah.
performances looked like they're going to be really well done. Um, I'm excited for this. What do you think about this trailer?
I also thought it looked really good. Definitely got the whole um story tell, like a fable, fairy tale vibe from it. Um, it looked really good though. And I like Lakeith. He's been doing a
Mm-hmm.
lot lately, so I was glad to see him as like a front runner in something else.
Yep.
I think he's a great actor, and I'm excited to see what they do with this story. Because I
Yeah.
mean, we know like the changeling, you know, story,
Yeah.
the
The fairy
original,
tale.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing where they take this. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, y'all definitely check out the trailer. You haven't seen it yet. It looks very interesting.
Yeah.
Some really striking and colorful, vibrant, and just fantasy
Yeah.
visuals that are
Right.
in that trailer. So definitely check it out.
Hmm.
Now, the next trailer that we got this week was for a new film coming to Shudder on September 15th called The Elevator Game. Now, a quick synopsis on The Elevator Game. A socially awkward teenager, Ryan, ingratiates himself into a group of recent high school graduates that run an online web series debunking urban legends. But Ryan has a secret. His sister disappeared months earlier, and he believes they, in a dangerous online challenge called the Elevator Game, were responsible. To play the game, you must ride the
Mm.
elevator in a specific sequence, invoking a supernatural creature called the Fifth Floor Woman. In an attempt to gain more information as to the whereabouts of his sister, Ryan persuades the group to play the game once more and risks unleashing the most fearsome consequences imaginable. Now, the Elevator Game is being directed by Rebecca McKendry and is written by David Ian McKendry and Travis Seppala. And I thought this trailer, it's a Shudder original, and I don't know, the movie, it seemed like it's okay. It's definitely got like its cheesy, goofy moments in there.
Yeah.
But I think it's just going to be like a popcorn horror flick and nothing more than that. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with that. I still think it'll be pretty decent, a decent watch.
Yeah.
The trailer I thought was, I mean, it presented the storyline, and gives you, a basis of what to expect from it. I watched, well, you didn't watch this movie, No Filter, which was a Shudder movie as well.
Mhm.
And it kind of reminds me of that, like the same type of style,
Yeah.
same type of vibe. Like you said, a popcorn movie.
Yep.
But yeah. Did you ever hear about this game in like real life?
Yeah, I think it's like a TikTok thing.
Yeah.
I'm not like I've heard of it because there's an episode of it in there's an episode about it in I believe the last season of Evil. If not, it was the season before that. But that's about all I really know of it.
No, I never heard of it before, so this is all I know about it. But I will say that the visual representation of the woman I thought was pretty good.
I thought it looked kind of cheesy.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
like generic. Like even her doing like the bend backwards thing.
Yeah,
like
I thought it was pretty good.
I was like, oh, that's just like something we see in every
Well,
weird
yeah,
ghost thing, dude.
yeah.
So
Well, okay.
yeah,
well, I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I was just kind of like it looks goofy. I think I even laughed at one part because I was like, this looks so cheesy.
Oh Lord, okay.
But certain elements, like when they're going to the montage of all the horror stuff, like some of there's like blood and some of the the carnage that I thought looked kind of dope.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yep. And again, y'all, the elevator game coming to Shudder on September 15th. So be on the lookout for that.
Yes. As a matter of fact, because I did a TikTok earlier in the month about what movies would be released in August, and the elevator game was one of the ones I mentioned because it was originally supposed to come out in August.
Oh, okay.
But they pushed it back to September. So
gotcha.
I don't know why they did that, but yeah.
Got a little delay, but be on the lookout for it. September, y'all. All right, so the next film we got is for a film called Divinity. Now, you put a note here that this trailer came out a while ago.
It did.
But we're just not getting news about its release. Can you speak on that a little bit?
That's just what the article said.
Oh, okay. Well, so...
I don't know as to why it was just now, but... Because there hasn't been any like updates or whatever about it since the trailer came out a few months ago. But yeah, now they're just saying this is when it's going to be released, and I know they were going to be showing it somewhere. Maybe that has some kind of correlation with, with the release.
Yeah, so there's a film coming out on October 13th in theaters called Divinity. And it looks like we just now are getting like the release date and additional information about the film, but the trailer's been out for a while. Now, to give you some additional information about it, here's the synopsis. An immersive black and white film set in an otherworldly human existence where scientist Sterling Pierce has dedicated his life to the quest for immortality, slowly creating the building blocks of a groundbreaking serum named Divinity. Jackson Pierce, his son, now controls and manufactures his father's once benevolent dream, and society on this barren planet has been entirely perverted by the supremacy of the drug, whose true origins are shrouded in mystery. Two mysterious brothers then arrive at the planet to abduct the mogul, and with the help of a seductive woman named Nikita, they will be set on a path hurtling toward true immortality. It's being written, directed by Eddie Alcazar, who is known for his multi-technique approach to visual storytelling, and is an exploration of undiscovered cinematic territories. It stars some actors. Here's a list of actors: Stephen Dorff, Scott Bakula, Bella Thorne. Is that Carucci?
Carucci.
Wow. Okay, Tran. I was like, I was wondering if it was her. I was like, wow, okay. Jason Janao and many more. This trailer looks super cool.
It looked really cool.
It reminded me of like the Sin City vibe, like the black and white.
Yes.
Very like striking contrast and the visual storytelling. It had this like weird, like gritty, like 70s sci-fi style to
very
it.
Much so.
That it just looked super cool.
I
was
really
like,
cool.
damn, like this looks like very interesting. Like,
yeah.
If anything, it'd be worth watching just for the visuals alone, even if the story and stuff sucks. But
yeah,
like, as an art, like as an
I think that's mainly right, and that's the type of stuff that the director and the writer has created in the past. Is like super focused on the visuals.
Right.
So, yeah, It looks really cool. So if you haven't watched the trailer, definitely go watch it because it looks really neat.
Yeah, it looks really cool, y'all. I mean, the story sounds interesting too. This idea of like this drug perverting this planet. I like that. I like that concept. It's definitely dipping its toe into that like sci-fi dystopian Blade Runner type shit.
Exactly.
But no, I thought this looked really good. I'm definitely. It wasn't on my radar at all. I knew nothing about it, but it's on my list now to go check out. And again, that's coming out October 13th, y'all.
Yep.
In theaters. All right, so the next film that we got is for a film called Deliver Us. Now, the synopsis for this film reads, when a nun in a remote convent claims immaculate conception, the Vatican sends a team of priests to investigate, concerned about an ancient prophecy that a woman will give birth to twin boys, one the Messiah and the other the Antichrist.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, it's being directed by Crew Ennis and Leroy Coons.
I think it's Kunz.
Yeah, Leroy Coons. It's kind of like it sounds like a troll name or something. I don't mean nothing about that, but y'all, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's being written by Leroy Kane Kunz.
Yeah.
It's going to star Lena Barbara Luce, Alexander Siddig, Thomas Kretschmann, Maria Berardi, and Leroy Kunz.
Yep, he's also in the movie.
He's in the movie himself, y'all. Now, it's going to be available everywhere on September 29th. It's getting a limited theatrical release and actually premiered the other day at Popcorn Frights Film Festival. Now, did you hear anything about like how good it was or not?
No, I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
But I will say the trailer to me looks good.
It does look interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
I was like, wow, that is so cool. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, I like that duality.
Yeah. Like the good and evil. But it's at the same time. And then there's some creepy stuff happening also. Like even between the nun and the priest.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay.
Well, she's like, oh, we're Mary and Joseph.
I know, but that's something she came up with herself.
Oh,
it's not like he walked in there. In what book?
Like in the Bible, wasn't it like Mary and Joseph?
These people didn't know each other. He wasn't with her. He was sent there.
Well, yeah, he was sent there, but it seems like they're getting to know each other. From the trailer, that's what it seemed like.
I know, but my thing is Mary and Joseph were already together. It wasn't like he showed up one day.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
But there was some really creepy imagery in there. It definitely looks like it'll be an interesting story, at least. How they follow through with that.
So it seems like she's also going to be like possessed potentially.
It does look like she's possessed by the evil kid because they did say something about how she was reacting to the evilness inside of her.
Yeah.
And then she was doing some weird stuff too.
Like walking around naked.
Yeah.
Weird stuff like that.
But I thought it looked really cool. But yeah, it'll be on like Prime, Vudu, all those things on September 29th.
Yeah, I mean, since it'll be on all those things, definitely worth checking out.
I think so.
I think it has potential to not be that good, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
There's some good moments in the montage of the trailer, but I feel like for any movie, you can put together a good montage in a trailer.
That's true.
Of like the best moments or whatever.
Because we can talk about that in a little bit later when we talk about the last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, well, yeah. I think.
Because I thought those were really good trailers.
Yeah.
Especially that last one that they did. I even said that. I was like, the feature. Well, no, the trailer.
Okay. Yeah.
I like the featurette. I was off, obviously, because we talked about that.
But the trailer didn't do no montage stuff. Like this trailer did that thing where they like cut really fast.
I'm talking about how
a lot of different stuff.
Presents it very well.
Yeah.
And it comes out looking different.
Yeah. But we'll see September 29th, y'all, for Deliver Us.
Yes, for sure.
With that, actually, y'all, that actually concludes our trailers portion, and now we're going to get into all the good horror news that dropped this week. Oh, yeah. All right, y'all, for the first piece of news that we got is regarding Foundation 6. We actually got a tease in regards to what the film could be about from the creator, Jeffrey Reddick. Now, he did an interview with Collider talking about his new film that he's got coming out, or that just came out, Till Death Do Us Part. And in that interview with Collider, they, of course, brought up Final Destination and Final Destination 6. Now, he mentioned that Final Destination 6 is going to add a new layer to the franchise. it won't be following the exact formula that we're used to, where the film opens with the big, set piece, and then they escape death, and then the death starts hunting them down.
Right.
Apparently, this one's going to switch it up a little bit. Reddit goes on to say, and I quote, "There's an expansion of the world of Final Destination that I think fans are going to be really interested in and intrigued by. When I say it doesn't add a layer, it's not just, hey, if you murder somebody in your place, you'll live. It kind of unearths a whole deep layer to the story that kind of, yes, makes it really, really interesting," end quote. Wow, I think this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, you kind of know, you get used to the way Final Destination works. And you kind of don't want it to change, but at the same time, you want it to evolve and, change with the times, I guess. And I personally would like some depth and, something new to the franchise, the franchise in general. So, yeah.
Yeah, by doing this, it keeps it fresh.
Yes, it keeps it fresh.
I mean, really though, with Final Destination, you can't keep doing the same thing. I think that formula can kind of work forever.
Know, yeah.
As long as you can stay creative with the kills.
Right.
But I'm cool with this. I'm cool with them expanding upon it and coming up with some new stuff, adding, like you said, a new layer to it. Keep it interesting. As long as because it seems like they're going to keep the idea of like death, coming for people. But it looks like they might be coming up with some unique ways to escape it or something like that. So I think this should be interesting.
Yeah, as long as they don't change the rules, because it's like, okay, well, we've already set these rules for the last 5 movies.
Right. Yeah. No. I agree with that too.
Yeah. Because we've been watching the Saw movies. What did he say?
No, it's the rules.
It's the rules.
It's the rules. It's the rules. That's one of my favorite parts in that first one, y'all. It's the rules.
It's the rules.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, so it's not a huge update for Final Destination 6. I think we still got a ways to go before we even see anything more with that. But it's cool to know that we could potentially be seeing something new with the franchise, at least expanding on what we already know. And I'm cool with them. I'm cool with them furthering the lore of death and all that. The lore. Now moving on to our next piece of news, y'all. We actually got a official poster release for the upcoming film Dear David. And we actually talked about this film it was a while ago. I think, when they dropped that initial trailer. It was weeks ago. And I think we both thought it looked okay. But it's cool that they were, literally made a movie off this viral Twitter moment, which is crazy.
Right.
But we got the official poster, and I think that it's like...
It's interesting.
It's a poster.
It's like a skewed digitized. Is that how you would describe it? Digitized.
And for y'all that haven't seen the poster, like it's got the child that's haunting Adam, and he's got this like very like digital like lines look to his face as kind of digital colors, like that like matrix green hue with some reds, like it's being distorted and all this like digital distortion. And the tagline is "Terror goes viral." Which makes sense given the context of the real life story. But yeah, I mean, I think the trailer, the poster looks okay. I definitely think it matches the vibe of the movie, which is a very like kind of B movie, like cheesy vibe a little bit. Yeah,
you always call it something cheesy.
Yeah, I think it is personally. But Dear David actually comes out on October 13th as well, via theaters, digital, and on demand. It's also being directed by John McPhail, and it's being written by Evan Turner. And for those of y'all that aren't familiar with the film, I can read you off the synopsis here. Shortly after comic artist Adam responds to internet trolls, he begins experiencing sleep paralysis while an empty rocking chair moves in the corner of his apartment. As he chronicles increasingly malevolent occurrences in a series of tweets, Adam begins to believe he is being haunted by the ghost of a dead child named David. Encouraged by his boss to continue the Dear David thread, Adam starts to lose his grip on what is online and what is real. And is based on the viral Twitter thread by BuzzFeed comic artist Adam Ellis. All right, y'all, the next piece of news that we got for y'all is about the film Talk to Me and how it is confirmed May 24th that they're getting a sequel called Talk to Me.
Yes, boy.
Number 2. And of course, this came from a tweet from A24.
And what did you say when you said that's cheesy?
I
Is that
did.
cheesy? Is his favorite word now?
Because it was. I was like, man, like, because we've seen that before. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it, but people have used number 2 in the title as like, because this it's a sequel. You got to put 2 in there.
I think it's cool.
But yeah, so A24 put out this little clip on Twitter where the hand from the film like kind of like bends and contorts into the number 2 and says "Talk to Me 2," or no, "Talk to Me" the sequel.
Yes.
And then it said "Coming soon," but the narration was from the character. Do you remember the character's name?
What was her name?
I can't remember her name. But,
the main girl who had the hand.
Yep. And it's the line where she's talking about like she's like, oh, some people say it's the hand of the Satanist and the other hand is just out there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like some implication into what the sequel could be about.
Right.
But it's no surprise that they're making a sequel to this film. It's doing great. It's on pace to potentially become A24's number 1 horror film in the box office domestically.
That's crazy.
I think it's like as of like a few days ago, it was like 22% behind Hereditary, which is their leading domestic box office horror film. But so right now it's sitting at over 24 million, and they only had a $4 million budget. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's definitely doing well for itself, and we'll see if it continues to keep a decent track. But I think
it will.
Yeah, but that's all the information they gave for us for the Talk to Me sequel. It's more just an announcement saying, hey, like, this shit's coming. But, kind of let people know while they're hyped about the film now that I'll be expecting a sequel. And I remember Danny and Michael mentioned in one of their interviews that they had, like, film stuff for a prequel and a sequel. So, I mean, they already knew that they had a hit on their hands. So, like, we could start prepping for the larger story.
They definitely did have a hit on their hands for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People still talking about it, still going to see it. So I kind of figured that they were going to go ahead and give them a sequel, which I'm glad about because I think they're really good creators. I think they're good directors, writers. So
I'm sure they'll get a bigger budget this time too. Yeah. So I'm definitely curious to see what they'll do with that. But moving on, y'all, to our next piece of news is actually about the Exorcist Believer. And we finally got the rating for this film. The film actually will be rated R. Mm-hmm. To my surprise.
I'm actually surprised
I fully expected this shit to be PG-13.
Yeah. They shocked all of y'all.
Yeah, they shocked me for sure, y'all. The Exorcist Believer is rated R, and it's rated R for some violent content, disturbing images, language, and sexual references. Yeah. So this is, I'm telling you right now, this is interesting.
It is.
It definitely, I mean, the trailer still doesn't work for me fully. Right. But hearing this definitely gives me hope that
it'll do it. The Exorcist.
It'll be the kind of that uncomfortable, shocking, terrifying, pushing the boundaries.
One can only hope
of what's acceptable in cinema. You know what I'm saying? Like how The Exorcist did. So it does give me a little bit of hope.
A little bit.
A little bit. I'd love to see like another trailer before the film comes out, so I can see some of the stuff that they're talking about. Like, violent content, disturbing images, language, sexual references. Like, I want to see all that shit in the trailer.
They're not going to put all that in the trailer.
I mean, not all of it, but, hint at some of it and be like, oh, okay. Like, this is about to be crazy, y'all. Yeah. But I know I'm excited I'm excited not because, like, I think it's going to be good, but just to see what it's going to be like. Just see what they do with it. Yeah.
Cause I feel the same.
Yeah, I'm going with low expectations so I don't get, like, shattered and disappointment. Yeah. But we'll see, y'all. But hey, I'm telling you right now, when I saw that R rating, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
nice.
Yeah, we
might. In there. With some grease, as my mom
They got some points. They got some points for me on that one. All right, moving on to our last story here, y'all, for news this week. This is another big one, and this is about Mike Flanagan's final series that'll be on the Netflix platform. Of course, he's going to be moving over to Amazon and doing some work over there.
Yeah, he's done with Netflix.
Yep, but he's been. This will be his last series on his Netflix contract, and the series is called Fall of the House Usher. Fall of the House Usher. It's coming to Netflix on October 12th, and it is the fifth and final release under the Netflix contract. Of course, Mike Flanagan was the mind behind the hit Netflix shows Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and Midnight Club. Now, Fall of
I know. I'm
Is it
sorry.
Fall
I
of the
get
House?
it is of the house.
Okay. Fall of the House of Usher is based on multiple works of Edgar Allan Poe.
Nice.
It will be a limited 8-episode series. Flanagan will be directing 4 of the episodes, and then his longtime cinematographer, Michael Fimignari, I might be pronouncing that wrong, sorry y'all, will be directing the other 4 episodes. The cast, of course, is, what you expect for all of Flanagan's shows and movies, a bunch of returning cast from a bunch of different shows. And Carla, is it Gugino? In an interview with Tadum, which is actually like an official Netflix site, stated that the show, and I quote, "It's batshit crazy in the best possible way. It has quite a lot of very dark humor, but also really touches the soul," end quote. And also, because we got this information from the Entertainment Weekly article, and it was Entertainment Weekly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they had a bunch of images from the show.
Yes.
And the images look great.
They do look good.
Yeah, they look really good, y'all.
Yes. And then, did you notice Mark Hamill?
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, we don't see him in a lot of things outside of voice work.
Yes.
So I was like, oh shit.
So he's in one of the images too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
And it looked good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very excited about this because I absolutely love Edgar Allan Poe's work.
Yeah.
Now, The Fall of the House of Usher is an actual short story that he wrote. Now, but the article said that it was going to be about different, works. So I'm wondering what other pieces they'll pull from aside from this one story. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I really like their adaptation. What was the name called? The Pale Blue Eye, which was, taken from his poem, A Telltale Heart. I really like the way they did that one. So hopefully they'll do good on this one. Yeah. I like Midnight Club. You didn't like that.
Well, no, I didn't watch it.
Oh, I thought you watched it. I didn't watch it. I like that one. I didn't watch Midnight Mass, but you did, and you liked
Midnight
that
Mass
one.
Is really good.
I like The Haunting in Hill House, but I didn't watch the Bly Manor one.
Bly Manor is good too.
Yeah, so obviously he has a good track record, so we can all expect that he'll do good, and I hope he does because I really like it.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that this one definitely brings the horror elements still. I know in some of the interviews they were saying the show brings a little something different. They said it's still very much a Mike Flanagan show. I just hope that a lot of the horror elements are still there. That's my big thing.
Yeah, it kind of will need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horror story.
Yeah. Because I didn't watch Midnight Club, but at least from the trailers, it didn't seem scary.
No.
Yeah.
So it was creepy.
Yeah.
It had some, scary-ish. It was a YA show.
Yeah.
And it's very much that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you were 13, it might be scary.
Yeah. Well, y'all, the Fall of the House of Usher is coming on October 12th to Netflix, so be on the lookout for that. Now, y'all, that's actually our last piece of news. Now we're going to be moving on to our main topic for today. And the main topic will be doing our spoiler review for The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Demeter.
Demeter?
Demeter.
All right, yo. So now we're gonna get into our spoiler review of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Now, before I start, what I want to do is go over the synopsis and then the directors and the writers. So, starting off with the synopsis, based on a single chapter, The Captain's Log, from Bram Stoker's classic 1897 novel Dracula, the story is set aboard the Russian schooner Demeter, which was chartered to carry private cargo, 24 unmarked wooden crates from Carpathia to London. The film will detail the strange events that befell the doomed crew as they attempt to survive the ocean voyage, stalked each night by a terrifying presence on board the ship. When it finally arrived near Whitby Harbor, it was derelict. There was no trace of the crew. It's being directed by Andre Overdahl, who did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Troll Hunter, and Autopsy of Jane Doe. Writers are Braji F. Shute, Zach Oakwich, and Bram Stoker. It's just being credited. It stars Corey Hawkins, Liam Cunningham, David Dalsmachian, Aisling Franciosi, and the score is by Bear McCreary.
Yes, I wanted to make note of the person who did the score because he did a phenomenal
That
job.
score was dope.
Yeah.
Like, that shit was fire. Yeah, they did a really good job on that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do first is Kristie's going to go ahead and kind of walk through. And this, again, y'all, this is a spoiler review. So spoiler warning.
So if you haven't watched the movie,
if you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch the movie and come back and listen to the rest of this podcast. But we should go ahead and break down kind of a play-by-play of what happened in the film. And then we'll dive into kind of our overall thoughts on the movie.
Okay, yeah. And then you can also, jump in if I miss something or if there's something you want to add.
Yep.
But okay, so basically we start off in the current time, which is when the boat is actually, or the ship is actually washed ashore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who these people were, but these people who watch the shore make sure these boats pass through safely and stuff like that.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of this lighthouse workers.
Yeah.
Maybe some policemen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They notice that the ship has come ashore and it's all torn up. And they're reacting strongly to what they find on the ship.
Yep.
And then it takes us back. So that was the date of August 6th. And it takes us back 4 weeks earlier to July 6th. And that's when we meet all of our key characters who are on the ship.
Yep.
Yeah, so there is these group of men who are traveling with these crates. And I said 24, but wasn't it 25? I think on the little wording that they had on the screen, it said 25. It doesn't matter. But anyway, they bought 20-something crates on to the harbor to be, transported to London.
Mm-hmm.
And the captain is trying to find other people to come on board the ship because he's short 3 people to be able to, take care of everything that needs to be taken care of on the ship. And so we meet our main character, Clemens, and he's trying to get passage to London. And he meets up, where the captain is, and what's his name? Wojciech. He's like a second mate, probably.
I'm not sure what
skipper, whoever is next in line under the captain. He's the one who's trying to find these extra people, and Clemens, he's kind of rejected because he feels as though he's too educated. He's not going to be able to be, actually work. And so he picks these other 3 guys, and the one guy that he picked over him, when he goes on the ship, he sees these crates, and the crates have this symbol on them that are dragons, right? And when he sees it, he reacts to them.
Mm-hmm.
Symbol. He's like, I'm not going to be up here. But before all that, he drops the crate, and the crate almost hits a little boy who is the captain's grandson. And our main character, Clemens, saves a little boy from being hit by the crate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's his opening, right? So the captain is thankful for him saving the little boy. And then because they're short of hand, they go ahead and let him join the crew. Mm-hmm. So now we have our crew. They're on the ship. They're leaving.
Set sail.
From there, we're getting to know the characters. They're kind of getting to know each other and all that kind of stuff. So there's these animals also down in the storage area. What do you call that area?
It's just a storage area.
It's called something else.
Cargo.
The cargo hold. Down where the cargo is. And so the animals start acting weird. There's a dog also. His name is Huck. He is the little boy's dog. What is the little boy's name? I just keep calling him little boy.
Toby or something.
Toby. That's right. Yeah, so they all are reacting weird, obviously, because Dracula is on board, but obviously no one else is aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the cargo boxes open up on the ship, and a girl comes out.
Yep.
The people on the boat think she's a stowaway, but she's in like, she can't really like breathe very well. She seems like she's having some kind of reaction or an infection. So because Clemens, he's actually a doctor, but he can't practice because he's Black.
Mhm.
He is able to help her. So he does like a blood transfusion on her to try to clear her of this infection, so she can, wake up and we can figure out what's going on. But right now they're treating her as a stowaway that she, is trying to get to London for free or whatever.
Mhm.
But when we go back to where the box is, Dracula comes out of his box looking for her.
Yep.
Right?
Essentially.
Yeah. He sees that she's not in the box, and then he, reacts. So from there, we see the dog down under the ship,
Mhm.
and that's when, unfortunately, the dog gets got.
Yep. And then all the farm
And then
animals too.
all the other livestock as well. So everything that was down there is now dead because the girl wasn't there.
Right, yeah, because he was hungry, so he had to eat something.
He had to
so
eat
he just
something.
cleaned
So he
house
cleaned
with all the animals.
all the animals. And then they spend a lot of time. Well, we won't get into that, but I'll tell that. Make note to pull that up later. But they debate often about what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
like what's happening to the animals. No one wants to really listen to each other to try to figure out what's going on. They just kind of write it off as rabies at the first time because it was just the animals. And then we see like this weird scene where the girl is kind of like dreaming or reacting really weird. And then it also flashes to Dracula, who's also reacting kind of weird. And then I figured, they probably have some sort of connection, but you don't really pick up on that until later on in the movie. Now, there's this one guy who's being kind of like a douche towards Clemens. That's how I put him down as douche guy. He's watching the wheel when everyone is supposed to be asleep. So he's up on doing the night watch. And when he does that, he gets caught by Dracula.
Yep.
But it happens in a really weird way, right? So he seems like he's weak and
No, he still was. I think it took all his effort for him to leap at him and cut him.
crawling across the ship, right? And then he comes up on him and he's like, wait, what's this? And then he attacks him. And so he's gone. And then after that, they're like, debating again. But the girl has woken up. And so she's trying to tell them that something is on the ship. They need to, get off the ship. She's obviously hysterical because she knows what it is. And they're not listening to her. Except for Clemens, he's trying to listen to her, but he's like a man of books, He's more about, he doesn't really believe in
logical.
Stuff. Right, exactly. So he's kind of listening to her. And then there's another guy who's definitely like, we need to listen to this girl. But everyone else is kind of still writing her off. So when they are alone, Clemens and Anna, is who we did figure out her name is, she explains to him what the creature is, which is Dracula, and how she knows what he does. And that's because, her village basically has some kind of like agreement where he could drink from the people that live there or whatever. And everyone else would get protection. So she was one of the people who were like living with him, and he was basically, she had like bites all over her body that had healed and stuff. Like he was basically using her as a blood bag. So she explains all that to him. And then basically, from there, Dracula just starts every night picking off one person at a time. Then there was one scene that I knew that the little boy was going to have to die because we know that the ship was empty when they found it. But I wasn't ready for it. Yeah. So there was this one crazy scene where the little boy is trying to hide, and he gets him.
Yep, he got him.
He gets him. I was like, no.
Yep, he got him.
Yes, but him, the little boy, and this other guy who get bitten, they don't die right away. They get like this in this trance thing.
Mhm.
And they kind of react similar to what you would expect a vampire to react, right? So like when the sun comes up, they start
Yep.
burning and stuff like that. So I thought that was
Yeah,
interesting.
it's like a zombified vampire,
Right.
and they have a connection to Dracula.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Now there's this guy on the ship. He's their cook. He's very religious. So to him, everything is like the devil. It's the reason why things are happening is
Mhm.
because they went against God or something. He decides to escape on the lifeboat. And when he does that, he thinks he's getting away, but really, they don't realize that Dracula can fly. So he
Yep, 'cause he's
flies
getting powered up by drinking all the
all the
different
blood,
blood.
right?
Yep.
He flies
Mhm.
out and gets him.
Yep.
He was like, dang. He was like, Lord, no. He was praying the whole time.
Yeah, he got.
Yes, he got. Once the little boy actually dies, they start formulating a plan because at this point they kind of figured out that they can kill it.
Mhm.
So they start formulating a plan to sink the ship while he's on it. So they, try to get the captain and all them, rallied up. But then the captain has like this instance where he's kind of sort of being manipulated a little bit. He's like hearing that voice.
Mhm.
And Anna is kind of like talks him down and, reminds him of, Toby and, giving him a reason to fight against this evil. And so
Mhm.
he decides to, well, I'm going to go down with this ship. Y'all do what y'all got to do. I'm going to, make sure that Dracula goes down and he doesn't make it to shore. So that was their ultimate goal. But obviously it doesn't work out that way. Dracula realizes what the plan is.
Mhm.
He starts getting everybody, the captain, everyone who's left basically, aside from Clemens and Anna. So they make it off the ship. And there was some kind of like fighting and battle prior to them getting off. They think they got him. She got bit. And so again, but she was already messed up.
Yeah,
But
it's like basically she was gonna die.
she
no
was gonna
matter
die
what.
anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
there was a fight between the two of them. He did scratch Clemens, but he didn't bite him. He only
Mhm.
scratched him. And the only reason why I bring that up is because of the ending. But yeah, so he scratched Clemens. He fought with Anna. They hit like this mass bar thing that pinned him to the ship.
Mhm.
So they escape. And the boat does eventually make it to shore and, crashes up to where we were at the beginning of the movie. But Dracula apparently got off. He got away. Anna is completely like almost completely under that full trance thing. So
Mhm.
she decides to just swim away and she gets burned by the sun.
Yep.
Clemens ends up making it to London. And then it ends with him realizing, him wanting to find Dracula. Now, there's a part earlier in the movie where he finds a cane inside of one of the crates, which was the crate that he was like sleeping in. And so it ends when it was funny because we called it before it happened.
Mhm.
It ends with him hearing Dracula banging the cane on the floor.
Yep.
And he looks back, he sees the cane, and then he sees like the profile of Dracula.
Mhm.
And he's wearing like a cloak and a top hat. And so he leaves out of the bar where he sees him at, and then he follows him. And then obviously from the narration, we get that he's going to be hunting him.
Yep.
It kind of gives a gateway to a sequel.
Yep.
And that's how it ends.
Mhm.
So now we're going to talk about what we liked and what we didn't like from the film.
Mhm.
You want to go first? Since I just did all that talking.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So the things I liked was the score. That was really well done. All the performances I thought were really good. Like convincing, um, kind of believable. Like they're making some dumb decisions. Like I'm not a big fan of movies where like stuff is happening and then people are still denying it.
Yes.
There's a lot of
that's what I
like
was-
moments where
the
it's like,
debating was ridiculous.
yeah, I'm like, come
so
on.
why are
now.
y'all still debating this? It was like 3 scenes where they
Yeah.
kept coming back to this like same table and debating this over and over again.
It's like obviously something's here.
Come on, you guys.
Yeah, even initially, he's like, "Oh, these look like bike marks." Oh, they can't be. It's like, but that's what they look like.
Clearly are.
So I don't know. I don't like when movies do that. So I would say the performances were good.
Yes.
It's just it's just the way they were written. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I liked all the characters.
Yeah.
I like how they did Dracula. I thought he was pretty menacing. I like how he evolved over time. Like he got powered up over the course of the movie. That was dope.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I didn't like was I was hoping that he'd look a little bit more human by the end of the movie.
Yes, we
So that's kind of
both
weird.
were expecting
Yeah.
that. Because the Anna girl, this is one thing I didn't like. I feel like her character was just to tell people stuff about Dracula.
Yep.
She didn't even have any other purpose,
That's
really,
it.
but to talk. This is what Dracula is. This is what he does.
Yep.
That's all she
was
ever
the
did.
informant for the crew.
She was the informant.
Yeah.
But yes, she said earlier on that he would put on a skin like a man, or
Like he'd be like a
he
human.
would be like a human. So I was hoping that we would see what his
human form
looked like. But even at the end, in him in clothes, he still looked like the creature.
It looked weird. Yeah.
It was really weird.
But I did like how they handled him. I like special effects. Like I like the kills. And I guess that's about. I like the overall story. I did like the overall story.
The story was good.
For the things I didn't like the pacing. There was a couple moments where it started to drag a little bit. And a lot of it was from like the debates and stuff like that. I also wish that there was more stalking and hunting with Dracula. Like the kills were cool. I wish he like toyed with them a little bit more. Like I felt like there wasn't that like almost hunt aspect to it. That would have been kind of dope. And then like I did feel like there was some good tension building where you're like waiting for Dracula to show up. I do wish there was more. Yeah.
Yeah. It was super short. It was like 10 minutes. No, it wasn't 10 minutes, but it really was only a very small window of tension, because I feel like, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, I feel like they showed Dracula too soon. Like I feel like we saw too much too fast. So we lost that tension now because we already seen the creature. But like if we could have got just a few more minutes of like the like what is it? Where is it? You know, type of feeling. I think it would have been a little bit better. But I don't know. I just feel like he came out too fast.
Well, I don't even think that was my issue. It was more just like in the moments where he is in hunt mode, that it's more build up to before he gets them. That's kind of what I mean. Like it was very short. Like they'd be like, "Oh, was he over there on this spot?" And they turn around and boom, there he is.
There was
very quick.
Maybe like one scene like that. Maybe one. I felt like where it was like it worked really good. Oh, I know, when Clemens was looking through that doorway, and you kind of saw his body, but not really. It was gone, like stuff like that.
Which doorway?
When he was looking for somebody, I don't know who he was looking for. I think he was looking for the first guy that got killed, and he was like looking straight ahead, and it was like a doorway. And
you're talking about when he's on top of the ship, on the top?
Yeah.
Oh, he was outside. You're talking about you see the silhouette of him.
It looked like he was through something, though. It wasn't through something?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, it looked like that to me.
Now, I did like that part when the boy was trapped in the room, and they're looking through, and they saw him standing there, and he kind of like walked off. That was dope. Like stuff like that is kind of like...
Yeah, I like that scene. Yeah. But to me, he looked like that girl off X-Men in that part. I didn't like... He didn't look very CGI-ish. He looked more like a dude in a costume on that part.
Well, no, I thought the practical effect there looked pretty good, because he looked very much like a creature who's starting to take more and more human form. Like he's able to actually walk and move around.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
I thought it looked pretty good. I liked it. But yeah, my big things are definitely just the pacing, and then also just wanting more of the stalking and the hunting, and the kills were fine. The special effects, were fine. I'm surprised he didn't go more ham. Like he pretty much would just suck the blood out and kind of leave it at that. Like it wasn't no like real destruction in terms of gore.
Yeah,
which was more of that. But yeah, I would like to see like a sequel from this team. Like I would like to see them take the Clemens character and do like a Van Helsing type of thing.
I really like Clemens,
especially because they could. I like to see them go balls to the wall, because this Dracula's already pretty vicious. I like to see him go like ham in the city of London. I think that'd be super dope.
Up the people on land this time instead of the sea.
But yeah, go ahead. You can go through your likes and dislikes.
Okay, my likes. I really love the score. It was so good. Like from the beginning all the way to the end credits.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was really good. I was like, dang, there's some good music.
Yeah, it was. It was very good.
And it fit. I feel like it fit the scene. Sometimes it was better than the scene, but it fit the scenes very well. So that's my number one thing. I really loved the score, but I also liked some characters. I really liked Clemens. I thought he did an excellent job.
Yep.
He was a great main character. I also felt like he had a little bit more depth than other characters. I kind of felt, and it might be because he had a little bit more to say. Because, when they had that little camaraderie moment, he was sharing more about his feelings. And then later on, he talks about how he, got his education as a doctor, but he couldn't practice because he was Black. Maybe that's why, because we got a little bit more backstory from him versus the other characters. And it might have been on purpose since they died anyway.
He's also the main character.
Yeah. But I feel like the other characters had just as much screen time as he did. Like,
well, he definitely had the most, because I think you made a comment in the movie. It's like, man, he always in the mix. So like, he was the main character.
He was
always around.
I was like, they gonna accept. At first, I was afraid they were gonna think. Well, they kind of did. Some of them kind of did that he was the one causing all the deaths in the beginning. And then one dude was like, well, the only people I've never dealt with are you and the stowaway girl. So they felt like it was either of them that had caused what happened. But so I didn't want him to get caught up in nothing. But I'm also looking at that as he a Black man. All these people, I don't want him to get caught up. Yeah. But so and like I said about Anna, I felt like she was just up there for the one purpose, and that was for her to just give us information about Dracula's backstory.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And that's all she had to do.
Yeah.
Captain Elliot, I thought he was good. I was trying to tell you this, but I think I was getting on AJ nerves when we was in the movie theater because I was talking.
Well, because you picked the wrong time to talk.
I have to say what I have to say then, or I'm going to forget.
You were talking when they was like speaking like, heavy dialogue moments.
It was a lot of that.
I couldn't hear what he said.
Anyway, he reminded me of Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. The way he talked and gave information, the way he projected his voice, some of his mannerisms even reminded me a lot of Mr. Feeney. But he never watched. He don't remember that character.
I didn't really watch that show like that. So
Boy Meets World. So I was talking to myself basically, and I thought Wojciech was a good character too. He was supposed to, I feel he was hesitant about accepting, Clemens as a employee or whatever you want to call him, a part of the crew. And so, you felt that. I think he did a good job portraying that. And he absolutely loved this ship. Like, at the end, he wanted to be the one to cause it to go down. He wanted to take the axe to the boards himself. And he actually cried because, he felt a connection to the ship. He said it was his home. Yep. So I thought he did a really good portrayal of his character. And the little boy, Toby, he did a really good job. I felt for him. He had some good moments where, he expressed sadness over his dog. Yep. And I could feel his fear when he was in that room. Yep. And someone he knew, supposed to have known, was trying to kill him. And then when he realized that the Dracula was in the room, how the heck did he get in the room?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I was like, how did he get in there?
He must have already been in there, but it's just...
That's what I was assuming.
But where?
Because when he first went in the room, you could hear the breathing, right? It kind of seemed like it was, but then I was like, well, maybe no, it's probably him on the other side of the door.
He slipped in when he walked.
He must have slipped when he went out.
He would have never left. He would have been fine.
Yes, he shouldn't have ever opened the door.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, I didn't like that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he did a good job. So all in all, I thought the main performances were really good. What else did I like? I liked the overall story, like you said. It was a good story. Obviously, it was already written. All they had to do was act it out for the most part. There were some parts where I was just like, oh, why? Like the one with the little kid running out the room.
Yep.
Like, why are he doing that? And I also didn't really understand why. At first, I didn't understand why Dracula was trying to kill everybody so fast, because he needed to get across the ocean. But obviously he was hungry, so he had no choice, I guess.
You don't pretty much want a night for the most part.
I'm just saying from the start, from the beginning. I guess he was trying to avoid doing that by having the girl, and because she got out the box, it kind of messed up messed up his plans. But yeah, so that was that. And then once they got closer, he started just didn't care anymore.
He's for the most part, he always did one a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I disliked, I kind of feel like what you said earlier too was like like I said in my TikTok, like there was some lowly moments, like where it was kind of slow a little bit. I did not like the whole let's keep debating this issue. Like one debate is fine, it's understandable because you gotta have that discussion, but two, 3 more times is not necessary.
Yep.
I didn't I didn't really like that. Well, it was just extra screen time for no point, no reason. Like I said earlier, I kind of wished there was a little bit more time without us actually seeing Dracula to give us more of that those tense moments. I just feel like it wasn't enough of those. And that's mainly all I didn't. I kind of didn't like the ending. Only kind of. I kind of did, kind of didn't.
I like the ending. Yeah, I was fine.
I felt like it just. I don't know. It almost started to feel like like a Sherlock Holmes movie. It kind of went from like a Dracula movie to a Sherlock Holmes movie. I don't know. That's just how the vibe was for me.
I didn't get that at all.
And so I didn't really like this change in the vibe. And honestly, I felt more like an action movie started to feel like an action movie and not really a horror movie. That's just me.
Nah, so I really like the ending, especially when we went to the bar.
That's the scene I'm talking about. It felt like Sherlock Holmes because now it's like, oh, I got to go find him and make sure he does this.
To me, well, I like that because it was resolving his storyline. It was this whole idea of him, I gotta make sense of the world. I gotta make sure this thing don't think he's just a god, and he's like.
Well, he said all that already.
You know what I'm saying? He's committed to tracking this dude down. So I don't know. To me, it was
it
was wrapping it up. That jump was hard.
I get that. And I like that. I just don't like the way that the movie started to feel like I don't know, the way it didn't look the same to me and it didn't feel the same. That's all. It's just the way the vibes were. It felt like a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
I don't know. It's just me.
Yeah.
But what would you rate this movie, honey?
Yeah, I give it 3.5 out of 5. That was pretty good.
How you gonna come at me and you gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5?
What you talking about?
Like all the stuff like you just said, you don't.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying. Like, I was letting the audience know because I didn't feel that way.
Right.
So that when they go, if they've watched it or they haven't, like, there's two sides to it. You said it felt like Sherlock Holmes, but I was like, I thought it was hard. Like, actually, I like the way it concluded.
It did. I'm right. Y'all gonna agree with me.
You never know. But yeah, 3.5 for me out of 5.
I would probably give it the same, only because of the slow moments. Honestly, if it wasn't for the good music and performances, I probably would definitely go lower. But those two things give it an extra boost. I think my biggest qualm is that I expected it to be scary, like
scarier.
Scarier.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot more, in your face, scare stuff. And then we didn't get that. And I think that's why I'm a little bit disappointed about it. Because I was really anticipating this movie. But yeah, I think the story itself is good though. It's still good. It just didn't reflect what my expectations were for it. That's all.
Yeah, I think this movie's pretty much where I expected. I think it hit exactly what I was expecting in terms of the kind of movie. I do, like you said, wish there's just a little bit more stalking, hunting type. Yeah, make it more scary.
Right.
But yeah. So we think 3.5 out of 5. If you've seen the movie already, let us know in the comments what y'all think about the last voyage of the Demeter. We'd love to discuss it with y'all.
Demeter.
Some people said Demeter.
It's Demeter. They said it on the movie.
Okay, Demeter. Demeter. But yeah, y'all let us know in the comments what y'all thought about the film. And with that, y'all, that wraps up the In Love with Horror podcast for this episode. Thank y'all so much for listening to the entire thing. Make sure y'all following us on all of our social channels on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you are subscribed to us.
Subscribe. Leave us a
on-
review.
Yeah, that's a big thing, y'all. Leave us a
Yes.
rating and a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That'll really help, boost us up in the algorithm. But again, thank y'all so much for tuning in to the entire podcast. This has been In Love with Horror. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.